Warning: Josh is not an expert in any of the crap he talks about. He simply uses his head and does a lot of research so you, the audience, don't have to. Keep in mind, he doesn't know everything, so take the he says with a grain of salt.
What's going on, everyone? And welcome back to Josh Said What, the podcast that'll change the world. I have here with me, good friend, Mr. Patrick Baughman.
Yes, sir.
Round of applause.
How you doing today? How you guys doing today?
Going pretty good. Sorry for the little delay on the setup, but it's
No worries.
nice, right?
It looks legit, and I'm pretty excited to do this, man.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Not only that, but we're also in your gun shop too. Do you want to talk about your little gun shop?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming here to do this. I figured give a little bit of exposure for the shop,
Exactly.
which is also, by the way, a rough sponsor now, so that kind of works out. Get to kind of see behind the scenes of the retail side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's awesome too. I was gonna bring up the sponsorship too. How did you actually work that out? I'm actually curious.
Honestly, man, I don't know. CJ, one of the owners of Rough, he hit me up after the fight, and he's honestly a really easy dude to work with, man. It's been really good talking with him and communicating with him on everything. And I think what happened was I was in the cage with Fiore, my coach, before the fight, and I blurted out loud, like, what do I got to do to get my logo on the cage? And someone heard me. I didn't even know CJ knew about it, but he hit me up like, hey, you still interested in that? And I was like, absolutely. So, yeah, we just went from there, man.
Yeah, that's badass. I remember meeting CJ over at the Golden Margarita.
Yep.
Me and JJ were talking a little bit with him. He's a really cool dude. He actually started out in the business just by building the cages, and then he worked his way up to an owner.
Oh shit, I didn't know that. That's cool. I know he also owns a A1 Pawn and Guns down there, and that kind of works out because now we're talking about firearms as well. So it's cool. We've already worked out a couple trades too, man. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, that is badass. And so let me ask you this: what inspired you to go ahead and start up this gun shop here in Havasu?
Honestly, man, Lake Havasu City is what inspired me. When I moved out here after I got out of the Marine Corps in 2014, I honestly wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Like literally, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life.
Right.
And I was like, well, I go to college like every other Marine that gets out does. I could go work here. I wanted to work on planes. That's what I did in the Marine Corps.
Oh, okay.
Part-time. So I wasn't sure, but once I moved to Havasu and I saw how patriotic this city was and just how badass Arizona is in general as far as firearm laws and just the logic and the freedom, say no more, man. It happened overnight, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean, there's been so many situations that you see, especially in like today's society as well, where it's like firearms are kind of needed to protect yourself.
Yeah, you see it today more than you ever have, as far as, I mean, specifically corrupt government officials and politicians out there trying to pull strings for whatever agenda they have up their sleeve. It's just like there's so many stupid people that don't understand what exactly is going on, or even have a clue, and that's frustrating, man. They think guns are bad, and it's like, well, maybe in some worlds they are, but right now you need it, and you need it for very good reasons. So
exactly, because it's not, people always make that lazy assumption that it's just needed for hunting. It's really not needed for that. It's to protect yourself against domestic and foreign terrorism,
yes,
against a tyrannical government, then even against home invaders, people that are threatening your way of life and the people you love.
Yeah, that is absolutely the primary reason behind the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Guns serve many purposes, and one of them definitely is hunting. But the Second Amendment stands for one reason, and that has nothing to do with hunting. It has to do with freedoms, our individual liberties. It's basically it's them admitting like, hey, we know the government can get out of control, so here's the one amendment we're going to put out there to letting you know you can still defend yourselves to the teeth until the day you die, type thing. So definitely nothing to do with hunting. I agree with that.
Exactly. And then speaking of guns as well, so I'm not sure if the camera's going to be able to pick up all of it, but with all the different array of guns you have, like, it's incredible. You have a huge selection. I see all of them over there and everything. Like, do you want to elaborate more on like what kind of guns you got, like the things you could do?
Yeah. So here at the retail store, we carry pretty much any type of firearm you'd imagine. We have old consignments. So some of them are antiques or collectibles, old war rifles, stuff like that. The wood and blue guns, I call it. They're usually wood stock with a blued barrel, something like that.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of those trading online at Gunbroker. A lot of people are interested in that old stuff.
Oh, okay.
Besides that, we have all the selection we can really get our hands on right now for any type of new retail firearms. So any type of tactical shotguns, semi-auto pistols, AR style, AKs, really anything you'd want. My team's gotten pretty damn good at tracking stuff down also. So if we don't have it here, then we can find you it or get it for you. But what we primarily do here is we manufacture our own brand of ARs. And that's one of our biggest, thing that we do is the manufacturing of the ARs and also custom building them. That brings us a lot of revenue as far as sales go. But that's kind of what we all enjoy here too. Everybody that works here knows how to build ARs.
Yeah.
And that's like the fun part of the job because you get to design it the way you want or to the customer spec, and then you get to go out and test it and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty badass. And there's a lot of people out here that loves ARs. I know so many friends and family that have at least 1 to 2 easy.
Right. Yeah. They're like the adult Legos. It's fun to build them. It's fun to customize and modify them. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, that is definitely a weapon, and it serves a very distinct purpose. And it's not necessarily for fun. They can be fun, but it definitely serves a different purpose.
Responsibility and protection first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you mentioned as well that when you first came out of the Marine Corps, you're kind of like pondering what you wanted to do with your life. And now you're also dabbling in fighting as well. What kind of got you into that?
Well, while I was in the Marine Corps, I did from 2008, I believe. Yeah, 2008 to about 2014. I served as a martial arts instructor. So I was actually a black belt instructor and used to run Marines through the belt courses and belt them up and do all that kind of thing, and then practice in my spare time type stuff. So, but I didn't really take it as serious as I really feel like I should have now. I didn't stay in. I got out, so that's one reason why I never progressed. And even when I got out, I didn't pursue martial arts for a solid 5 years. I think the only attempt I made was I had already bought myself and my girlfriend at the time a gym membership to Anytime Fitness. So I went up to a Revelo Academy to lock on something that was geared towards training, like martial arts. And I think at the time he quoted me $160 a month, which isn't a bad price at all, but
it really isn't.
I literally couldn't afford that. Plus my girlfriend would have trained too. So that's, 160 times 2. Plus we already had the other gym membership. So I just never signed up, man. I kind of regret it. And then one day, one of my customers who became a friend and then became a fellow business owner with me, Tim Livingston, he's one of the co-owners of Bridge City Combat. He came into the shop, and back then he was just a customer, but he invited me to his MMA fight. And I was like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, I'm going to fight in a cage. I'm like, bro, what? So I went down there and watched him, and it was just badass, man.
That was badass.
I watched him fight Brooks Callahan that night. And just the whole experience, man, like seeing people that I know compete and just like everybody watching them, and I was like, I gotta fucking do this shit.
Wow,
for sure.
Now you say Brooks Callahan, is that one of the Callahan brothers that was at the Rough 46?
Yeah, he actually Brooks was at Rough 46. It was a title fight. He got TKO'd.
That's right.
He beat Tim that night, but yeah, just at Rough 46 he did get TKO'd by Mordecai. But yeah, so since then, man, and then from there, Tim introduced me to Christian Byers. And so Christian started training me out of his garage. And then I said, fuck it, let's step it up. So me, Tim, and Christian became partners. And I basically helped fund the startup of Bridge City Combat. So
hell yeah.
Yeah, I used to be an owner at it. Now I'm not an owner anymore. I'm just like a fighter there, and I have like lifetime memberships and shit. But
okay.
Yeah, it was Christian Byers, man, got me started in the MMA journey, and Tim Livingston. Yeah.
That's pretty badass. That's pretty badass. And then now, I don't know if you want to announce it first, but for Rough 47, you have a fight, right?
Yeah, I do actually. Finally, locked on. Everything's ready to go. Got the contract signed right there. Gonna be turning that in today to the staff at Rough. But it'll be, my opponent, his name is Matt Stenger, and we will be fighting at 205 pounds. So super excited. This is my fourth amateur MMA fight, and it'll be the first fight that I fight at 205 pounds. My first 3 fights I've been going in there with guys a little bit heavier, bigger than me. So yeah, I just want to see what I can do with guys my size.
Oh yeah, definitely, because you were in the heavyweight division originally, and you liked that challenge and everything. Now you're kind of like looking to have somebody that's going to be right on your level and everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just give myself the ultimate advantage, and or at least not let them have any advantages as far as their weight. And then it kind of comes more down to skill set,
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know with light heavyweight, it's definitely a fast-paced division, but you could especially thrive in that. I think for your build too and everything with your background, and then like with Jaime over at Fior's, the way he comments on your skill progression with your boxing, your capability, I feel like you'd really excel at light heavyweight.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Yeah,
Cool. I feel like it would be a it just depends, man. It really depends on who your opponent is. I could get a 205 pounder that just wants to wrestle again, and it's like, fuck, that's not my necessarily my skill set. Obviously, we always work to improve our weaknesses, but I wasn't born and bred a wrestler. I didn't wrestle all 4 years in high school, or do wrestle when I grew up with my parents and all that shit. But I've put myself down as a bar brawler every fight, and that's what the fuck I go out there and do, man. I just want to get in a goddamn brawl.
Yeah, that's the best kind of fights.
Yeah, this shit's over quick, man.
I still remember those 2 legendary brawls with Diego Sanchez. You remember? I remember it was like against Gilbert Melendez and then Clay Guida.
Yeah, I remember that. I can never forget that.
Oh shit, that was freaking legendary. That was hardcore legendary. And I feel too, because I know like the Diaz brothers, for example, no wrestling at all, but they do BJJ, and then that's what you're doing over at Bridge City as well. So that's a very perfect counterbalance as well.
It is a lot of I mean Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and what we have going on at Bridge City Combat. There's nothing really I can replace that with, man. It's the most physically demanding training that I do, especially when you're in there with a lot of guys rolling round after round after round. You can't really replace that type of cardio workout or that type of strength training or exercising. But I still do need more foundational wrestling techniques that are just pure wrestling. Everything changes though with MMA, because even the jiu-jitsu stuff that I get taught over there, I got to remember to apply it to an MMA scenario, to where it's like, this will work if you're not getting punched. Like you might be able to grab his leg and post up. Yeah, that might work if you're not getting, fists thrown at you. So it's all a little bit different, but at the end of the day, man, it's just one thing I definitely need some progression on as far as my skill set, anything on the ground. It's kind of never ending though. You know what I mean? Even the black belts that I know are always in there trying to seek self-improvement, which is a good thing. So that's kind of what that atmosphere promotes anyway. So
yeah, exactly. That's always been my biggest love for MMA, because eventually down the road, I would like to have like a couple amateur fights just to get that experience for what my interests are. But just the overall aspect of MMA and the fact that it doesn't matter if you dedicate 20 years to one single discipline. It could all be counterbalanced because of how much variety there is in MMA.
Yeah,
like you put Conor McGregor and Khabib is a pretty good example. Conor McGregor doesn't really have like good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu and everything, but he's great stand-up. But then Khabib just took him straight to his world, and then boom, it was game over.
Yep.
So that's what I love, and the fact that it keeps you on your toes all the time. You have to constantly work in all these different disciplines. That's been my favorite thing about it. And BJJ, I absolutely love it. I have a gi at home still from when I was training out in AZ Combat Sports out in Tempe. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I'd recommend getting back into that, man. I was against wearing a gi for a long time. I'd always give my coach Barry Solins shit for it. They even making fun of the way they look in their gis. But no, he eventually convinced me, man. I got one, and I'm really glad I did, because now like, besides obviously training myself to get more efficient in a fight, which is the ultimate goal, I do pride myself on just wanting to train myself as an individual to be more dangerous on the outside while I'm on this earth. But now I have a goal, like, yeah, I would like to see a black belt around my waist one day. You know, it might take 10 years, but I'd like to achieve that. So it's like, if I'm going to be putting in time doing no gi, I might as well learn it in the gi.
Exactly.
And get belted up. And then also, just to look out, I'm going to be doing some competitions after this fight, some Brazilian jiu-jitsu competitions.
Nice.
So that I can go in there and learn some shit without getting my face smashed in. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And you're still getting a little bit of that same aggression, because I know in tournaments there's a lot of tendency of like dirty tricks and everything based off what I see on YouTube. And it kind of helps give you a little bit, like, I want to say a realistic comparison to an actual MMA fight, but at least the level of aggression and intensity kind of helps put you in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it helps kind of condition you to hopefully be able to apply in a real world scenario.
Yep, that's a very overlooked thing, and especially for guys who are looking to get into the sport. You know, if you're doing jiu-jitsu for an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, and then you're doing boxing on some days and you're doing kickboxing on other days, you got to get those days where you're putting it all together. And even when you're putting it all together and you're doing, you know, takedown defense drills or whatever type of MMA stuff you're doing where it's all collaborative, you have to get in a fight. And what I mean by that is you have to have a training partner that's going to go rough you up, man. It's going to knock you around and put you on your ass when you need it, and, you know, throw a strike at your head when your hands are down and hit you. Like, that type of thing needs to happen. Otherwise, it's all a big shock, you know, because it's not like an everyday occurrence where you get in a fight and you get roughed up and, you know, you're all tensed up. It's not an everyday thing. That's why I think most fighters, or at least myself, that's what I seek, that adrenaline rush of being in a cage with somebody and going the fuck at it with them. There's like not too many things on this earth that give you that feeling. So it's an addiction, to be honest. That's what it is. So yeah, it's
especially doing it in front of a crowd too, and you hear the roars, the whole reaction and the interest. It's so insane.
Yeah, it really is. And honestly, this fourth fight is going to be much different than my first three, because I learned something in the third fight. And that's just a little bit more patience. I think by the time it dawned on me in the third round, I was a little bit tired and exhausted. So, you know, my form was very, very kind of sloppy towards the end. But either way, you know, having to go through 3 rounds, I learned, like, okay, the fourth fight, I'm going to fight the way I want to fight. I'm not going to go out there and just dump a bunch of adrenaline and fucking get in a fury and then see who comes out on top. Like, I'm gonna methodically fight him. Like, I'm gonna actually break them down, you know.
Yeah, and this is definitely gonna be an interesting one too, because Matt Stanger, he fought like middleweight, and he's also fought a heavyweight as well. So I think this may be his debut at light heavyweight as well.
Yeah,
so I think
you're correct.
Yeah, so I'm very interested, because I'm kind of anticipating it's either gonna go one of two ways. Maybe be like a little like surge or rush at the beginning. But like how you were saying, it's going to be more methodical, more calculated, more technique and everything. Because when your last fight, when you guys were standing up and you were connecting good. Like,
yeah. It just was like I said, I was so exhausted, man. Bradley Burson was a lot to deal with those 3 rounds. So, you know, once you finally get back, I think the ref should have stood us up a couple times, and that would have really helped, because getting out from under a fucking guy like that is like, takes a lot of damn energy. And when you're on your feet, you can see a couple of my punches that I throw are so wild, and one of them I slip really, really bad and basically get taken down again right after that. But hopefully this time, you know, he's not going to be so geared towards going to the ground to where he has no choice but to stand up a little bit. I don't think he's going to watch my last fight and be like, oh, I could take this guy down. He just watched a 260-pounder and not be able to TKO me for 3 rounds.
Exactly.
So he's not going to do any better than that. So I think he wants to stay standing. If not, we'll be prepared for the ground. That's all I've been working on. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, because, I mean, you didn't quit at all throughout that fight, and we were all giving you so much props for that, especially because of that advantage that Bradley had, and he just kept on taking it to the wrestling. There
Yeah.
wasn't really any stand up or anything like that, because when you guys were standing up, you were connecting. He was struggling.
Yeah, definitely a reach advantage in that. That was one thing I knew I had coming in. But if I'm Bradley Burston, man, I don't need to connect. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He did his absolute job. He knew exactly what he needed to do to win that fight. I'll tell you what, I'd like to box him though. I'll do a boxing match with Bradley.
There we go.
No wrestling, no more wrestling with that guy. Maybe one day if he comes down to 205 or if I go up again, but I don't see myself going up that much. But yeah, it just it was a different aspect on the feet, and like I said, once I got to the end, man, I was just too tired, too gassed. So that's another flaw that I'm like, all right, well, I do have good cardio, but I can always be better. You know, I shouldn't be in a 3-round 3-minute fight and be like so tired that I'm like falling over, wobbling, or I'm just not throwing kicks correctly, or my punches are too wild, or
Yeah.
you know, I lost my composure and then I regained it when I realized, oh fuck, I could still win this fight. You know.
Yeah.
So I kind of waited a little too long, I feel like. So that's why that fight was the best one, man. I had 9 minutes in the cage. That's 5 times as much time in a cage as my other two fights combined. So
that gives you a lot more experience to learn off of.
a lot of experience. And then, like you said, you know, I don't know how tough I am until I go through those things. And I've been through a lot of mentally challenging things through my life, especially in the Marine Corps. But this is different, you know, like you're volunteering for this type of shit. So it's just different to see it go through something like that and work out to where, you know, you didn't quit or whatever. So that is important to me also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously I wanted the W, but
yeah,
I'll take that too, I guess.
it's still I still consider it a great learning experience, because like when I was over at AZ Combat Sports, especially when I was doing jiu-jitsu, I was just losing left and right. But it was what I prided myself off of was the fact that I didn't quit. I just kept going. I was going against a couple purple belts and everything. So there's definitely a big advantage that they had over me. But the fact that you didn't quit is a major respect, props, because there were
that. Bradley beat me up more than anybody ever has as far as landing strikes on my face and getting me to swell up. And he didn't cut me, so I'm really happy about that. But it just depends, because like my second fight against Chase Daniels, which I'd love to get a rematch of Chase also. He didn't hit me as much, but man, he hit me some good fucking times, and that shook me up more. Like I saw stars in that fight at some point. So I was like disorientated and just in a much worse position, even though it didn't seem like it when you look at like the barrage that I took from Bradley.
Yeah.
You know.
It's always kind of like those sleeper shots. They don't look like they hurt, but then they hurt.
Yeah. So it just depends, man. That's why I love MMA, because, you know, like it doesn't matter really. It doesn't really matter if you're in there, and unless it's like a huge mismatch as far as skill level. If you guys are pretty similar, at the end of the day, anybody can get fucking caught with 4-ounce gloves. Period. Anybody can get caught. Like I came out the second round, I threw a fucking big overhand right, and I swear to God, that shit came out like 150 miles an hour. If that would have caught him barely, even if it would have caught a chin hair, man, that dude would have been put to sleep. But you know, it was over. It was way. I missed it. You know, pretty big. It was way overthrown. But even not in wild punches like that, you can get caught with little jabs, and it's just like if it's right on the button, it's right on the button. You're going 9-9, you know.
Yeah, and then it just kind of adds up too with all the consecutive strikes.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. But hey, I got complete faith in you, man. This is gonna be awesome too, and it's on May 14th, right?
Yeah, May 14th. It's gonna be down at the Celebrity Theater down in Phoenix, Arizona. Again, it's hosted by Rough Nation, and it'll be Rough 47. Your boy's fighting at 205 pounds this time. And tickets are on sale right now. The promo code still is P Baughman. That's BAUGHMAN. I don't think we're doing a giveaway for this fight, but we will have a t-shirt design, and anybody who wants to order one of those can order a t-shirt. It won't be like a mandatory thing though. It'll just be like at your own will. And then they're also doing pay-per-view, so stay ready for that stuff. We'll get all the pay-per-view notes out to you guys also.
Exactly. And then speaking of pay-per-view, you were one of the top selling fights, right? 446.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's what CJ told me. That not number one in the ticket sales down at the Celebrity Theater, which makes sense because I'm not from the Phoenix area.
Right.
But we were number one in pay-per-view sales, so I definitely want to shout out to everybody that supported me that night. I just wish it would have went my way, and I wish I could have pulled out the victory, especially against a freaking beast like that. But at the end of the day, man, I appreciate everybody tuning in and watching it all happen, because you guys get to be a part of the journey. So, maybe 5 fights from now, you get to say, damn, I remember when Pat got in there and got smoked by Bradley, but now he's out here doing this type of stuff. So that's the whole point is you guys get to watch the journey. So I appreciate all the support.
And that's the aspect of it I love too with mixed martial arts, because it could be a serious learning experience and humbling moment that takes you from being just back at square one, and the next thing you know, you're catapulting off.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. That's why I love the sport so much.
Yeah, you got to constantly push yourself. You got to constantly look for ways to improve, man, and that's part of the challenge. So for sure, the journey is the best part, because the ride can last for 30 seconds in a cage, but the journey getting there and the times that I'm pushing myself in training, and the times that I'm waking up by myself at whatever time to go to the gym, that's where I'm, that's where I progress the most. The fight is like the climax, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's all over by then. So
yeah, the real build up is just preparing for it.
Yeah.
Having to go through all of that mental and physical conditioning, working your cardio, going through all those training hours and everything.
Yep.
But that's definitely the step that it takes to reach that level of greatness. That's why I love the sport. That's why even if I'm not trying to pursue like a full career in it, I'm still open and willing to get up 4 or 5 in the morning just to train, just because the beauty of the sport.
Yep, absolutely, man.
Yeah, and like I remember when I was at AZ Combat Sports, when I finally got my gi and everything, and I started doing their classes. What the area I say I struggle with is definitely my stand up. I'd say I have good head movement, but the ability to connect and land and to stay consistent with it, I feel that's where I kind of struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned that I kind of have a natural knack for wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Okay. And at like AZ Combat Sports, it was a blast just going through that experience, getting humbled quite a few times by a lot of different opponents. Like there's this one guy I was able to do, the Russian tie.
Yeah.
I was actually able to do it.
Okay.
I got the Russian tie. Everybody in the gym, they saw it and were just like, whoa. And it was pretty cool. The guy still ended up submitting me just because he had more experience. I think he was a white belt, but he had like already 3-4 notches on versus me, who I'm just a fresh white belt. Yeah. But it was great.
That's me. I'm the whitest belt in there right now.
Honestly, I really love BJJ. It's such a great sport, and it's such a great discipline, as you said, with like cardio, especially too, because nothing grinds you harder really versus stand up than being on the ground, wrestling, doing the jiu-jitsu, trying to avoid and calculating at the same time what submissions can I avoid, what positions can I avoid to put me in a bad situation while I can continue to advance and make my own attempts.
Yep.
So it's always checkers or chess.
Definitely makes you think, keeps your mind engaged.
Yeah, exactly. But, okay, I think we're going to wrap it up. I know you got to open the shop right at 9, so I'll go ahead and wrap it up for you.
Okay.
But hey, it was a blast having you on. It's great to do it in here, so that way we could promote your gun shop and everything. We're definitely going to put your promo code in the comments as well, or in the description. I'm going to tag it with all the clips too, so that way we make sure we get it for you.
Nice. Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.
All right. And thank you guys again. This is Josh Said What? Again, the podcast that'll change the world, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.